Today is March 4th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps and 12 traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are on Chapter 4, We Agnostics. We'll be reading page 51 today. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 7. We'll read the second half of page 73. And of course, we'll read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, I hope you all are doing well this morning, my friends. As I'm recording this, it's actually in the afternoon. The washer's going, the hot water heater's going, so I apologize if all that stuff sneaks into the audio. But man, it was so nice to sleep in with my wife today. We had about 7-8 inches of snow on the ground. It's still cold out there, but the snow's starting to melt a little. But we got to play outside and with the kids, and it just makes me so thankful to be sober and present to enjoy these moments. Just great stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. That's also great stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, we left off on a pretty powerful line here. It says right here on 51, the bottom of the first paragraph, when many hundreds of people are able to say that the consciousness of the presence of God is today the most important fact of their lives, they present a powerful reason why one should have faith. So we are going to build on that on page 51. We'll read the rest of the page today. The world of ours has made more material progress in the last century than in all the millenniums which went before. Almost everyone knows the reason. Students of ancient history tell us that the intellect of men in those days was equal to the best of us today. Yet in ancient times, material progress was painfully slow. The spirit of modern scientific inquiry, research, and invention was almost unknown. In the realm of the material, men's minds were fettered by superstition, tradition, and all sorts of fixed ideas. Some of the contemporaries of Columbus thought a round earth preposterous. Others came near to putting Galileo to death for his astronomical heresies. We asked ourselves this: are not some of us just as biased and unreasonable about the realm of the spirit as were the ancients about the realm of the material? Even in the present century, American newspapers were afraid to print an account of the Wright brothers' first successful flight at Kitty Hawk. Had not all efforts at flight failed before? Did not Professor Langley's flying machine go to the bottom of the Potomac River? Was it not true that the best mathematical minds had proved man could never fly? Had not people said God had reserved this privilege to the birds? Only 30 years later, the conquest of air was almost an old story, and airplane travel was in full swing. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on Step 7. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. And yesterday we talked about on 73, the top, how humility is a necessity for us. But this is a process. It's not something like, boom, we snap our fingers and we're instantly humble. I wish. But the last line we read yesterday, a whole lifetime geared to self-centeredness cannot be said in reverse all at once. Rebellion dogs are every step at first. So we will finish off page 73 today. When we have finally admitted without reservation that we're powerless over alcohol, we're apt to breathe a great sigh of relief saying, well, thank God that's over. I'll never have to go through that again. Then we learn, often to our consternation, that this is only the first milestone on a new road that we are walking. Still goaded by sheer necessity, we reluctantly come to grips with those serious character flaws that made problem drinkers of us in the first place. Flaws which must be dealt with to prevent a retreat into alcoholism once again. We will want to be rid of some of these defects, but in some instances, this will appear to be an impossible job from which we recoil. And we cling with a passionate persistence to others, which are just as disturbing to our equilibrium, because we still enjoy them too much. how can we possibly summon the resolution and the willingness to get rid of such overwhelming compulsions and desires? But again, we're driven on by the inescapable conclusion, which we draw from AA experience, that we surely must try with a will, or else fall by the wayside. At this stage of our progress, we are under heavy pressure and coercion to do the right thing. We are obliged to choose between the pains of trying and the certain penalties of failing to do so. These initial steps along the road are taken grudgingly, yet we do take them. We may still have no very high opinion of humility as a desirable personal virtue, but we do recognize it as a necessary aid to our survival. "24 hours a day, March 4th. AA thought for the day. Having surrendered our lives to God and put our drinking problem in His hands doesn't mean that we'll never be tempted to drink. So we must build up strength for the time when temptation will come. In this quiet time, we read and pray and get our minds in the right mood for the day. Starting the day right is a great help in keeping sober. As the days go by and we get used to the sober life, it gets easier and easier. We begin to develop a deep gratitude to God for saving us from that old life. And we begin to enjoy peace and serenity and quiet happiness. Am I trying to live the way that God wants me to live? Meditation for the day. The elimination of selfishness is the key to happiness and can only be accomplished with God's help. We start out with a spark of the divine spirit, but a large amount of selfishness. As we grow and come into contact with other people, we can take one of two paths. We can become more and more selfish and practically extinguish the divine spark within us. Or we can become more unselfish and develop our spirituality until it becomes the most important thing in our lives. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may grow more and more unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. I pray that I may take the right path every day. Daily Reflection, March 4th. Weeding the garden. The essence of all growth is a willingness to make a change for the better, and then an unremitting willingness to shoulder whatever responsibility this entails. As Bill sees it, page 115. By the time I had reached step 3, I'd been freed from my dependence on alcohol. But bitter experience had shown me that continuous sobriety requires continuous effort. Every now and then, I pause to take a good look at my progress. More and more of my garden is weeded each time I look. But each time I also find new weeds sprouting where I thought I had made my final pass with the blade. As I head back to get the newly sprouted weed, it's easier when they're young. I take a moment to admire how lush the growing vegetables and flowers are. And my labors are rewarded. My sobriety grows and bears fruit. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading. And it's so funny how each and every one of these readings it's at least I'm seeing a connection in my head. I don't know if I'll be able to express it that way, but talking about weeding the garden, right? I think that's a beautiful metaphor. I'm an 80s kid. I was born in the 80s, and I was a child of the late 80s and early 90s, and one of my favorite movies of all time. I've got a few, but one of them is the original Karate Kid. And of course, Mr. Miyagi, he's always pruning the trees and everything, taking good care of them. Just a little bit of maintenance every single day, right? And that's how I kind of see my spiritual growth here, right? I'll pick some weeds over here and then I'll give them to my higher power. But as it said either in the big book today or it was the 12 and 12, some of this stuff is a lifetime process. Some of the stuff Just because I'm done drinking doesn't mean all my problems are over with. No, Lord knows I'm a work in progress till the day I die. But the bottom line is that spiritual maintenance of just keep plugging away a little bit every day, pruning just a little bit every day, so that the good fruit can grow. To feed the good wolf every day. It's worth it. It is certainly worth it. And I love what somebody said one time, that I can't get sober on yesterday's meeting. For me, it's a continuous thing. And I think that was in the 24 hours a day as well. It was somewhere in there. I know I just read it. It's my alcoholic brain going here, but I love that metaphor again of just weeding the garden. Especially, I like what it said about the newer weeds that sprout up. If we catch them early, it's easy to pull out that root, right? It's when I push it off and go, I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with that another time. And before long, that weed has grown and it's starting to choke out all the fruit in my life. It's dominating my thoughts, and that's all I can think about. All I can process each day. That's when it becomes an issue, right? But catching those tiny weeds right off the bat is much easier. Staying current, as one of my old buddies would say, that he has to stay current with his sponsor every day, And that's that daily pruning. I like, speaking of another metaphor, I heard one time that I'm like this boulder, but the God of my understanding, he has this chisel. And whenever I'm ready for him to chisel out something, he'll go ahead and chisel it out. Just a little bit each day. And before long, the person I was meant to be starts to come forward. But it takes time. And it takes willingness and open-mindedness and humility. That necessity, right? But each and every one of us are a masterpiece in our own way. Very uniquely built. And if we are sober today, my friend, we have a unique superpower to help the next suffering alcoholic. Now, again, this is Robology. I believe we're here for a reason. And it's to help the next suffering alcoholic, or anybody else for that matter, to pay it forward. That's the thing that I've noticed in my life. A lot of the people that invested in me, some of them are already gone now. The best thing I can do is pay it forward out of respect and appreciation for what they did for me. I'd love to pay forward to somebody else. And if we're sober, we can do that today. And if you're not sober, my friend, I hope you know that you're a miracle. And today could be the very first step to your new chapter. Your story's not done yet. You're worthy of recovery. And there is so much support out there if you're just willing to look for it. So I pray that you'll get the help that you need today. And as always, my friends, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect. I am just a joyful drunk in this lifeboat of recovery. Really honored to be here today. We were talking about joy yesterday. This gives me so much joy to do this podcast. And if we're given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.